Hey guys, and welcome back to the Believing Better series. This is the final day. I have my guest with you today. Her name is Susy. Susy is in LA. I am in LA, Louisiana. And we could not be more different, our environments, I should say. And this has been part of our conversation from the beginning, wouldn't you say? Like, oh my God, I don't know. I'm not sure. You guys think so different than me. And it has been a new awareness, to see that we can actually use this work no matter what our beliefs are, no matter what our stance is or our take is, that it's so individual that working the process is about personally empowering ourselves. And that's really what I want to talk about is your journey, your experience, what you thought it was going to be, what it turned out to be, the murky parts of it, the hard parts of it, the ahas and the simplicity, just kind of a mix of all of it. So we're going to be real and raw, and we're going to talk about the inner stages of transformation and how that can feel very uncomfortable, especially if you have unresolved trauma in the body or in your life, how it's constantly getting triggered and putting us back into a fearful state. And it takes time to unravel and unveil all of that. It takes a lot of gentleness and compassion and understanding with some toughness, kind of that dance between the two. And I know that has driven you crazy and it has liberated the mess out of you. So let's talk about that. Welcome.
Thank you. You want to talk about the mess?
Let's talk about what you thought it was going to be.
Well, I thought it was going to be, I kind of didn't know. Actually, I didn't know what it was going to be, but I did think that I would be able to talk to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You would solve all my problems. That it would be like having like a therapist 24/7, and that it would be yeah, like life is a mystery. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Here's my money. You tell me what to do. Thank
Mhm.
you. Done. Like I remember walking around thinking, Jesus, I just paid a huge sum of money for something. I don't know what's going to happen, but I know she's going to fix me. I know it's going to be all better because I feel in my gut this is what I'm supposed to do. So it's going to work out. That's me. Like I'm not a logical linear. I mean, I like logic, but I go with my gut, with my intuition. And it was because of the things that you wrote and your life story and who you were. I just felt, you know, you never did really give me like a syllabus with an outline like I wanted. You gave me like a brief, we're going to do this, this, and this. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah. I did the same thing, by the way. I invested lots of money for someone else to take responsibility for fixing me. It didn't work.
Yeah.
And I think it's, something that a lot of us do. I for sure threw thousands of dollars at the Facebook ads, dude, and all of that stuff because I really wanted someone else to take care of this problem that I had. And I think the awakening moment is when we realize, holy shit, it's me. It's up to me. I've got to get this. I've got to change this. And you've had moments of that. And you've also had the moments of, I don't belong here. I'm not supposed to be here. This is not working. I just don't understand. And I think you've heard a couple of the other talks where they were saying the same thing. And I think
I was
what,
surprised to hear that.
yeah,
And
yeah. I think the thing to note is it is a unique journey for each of us. And it's a journey back to ourself, which kind of leaves us at that like Jumanji's bridge, right? Where how they're in Jumanji, they're jumping on the bridge and they're just kind of hanging there. It's like it's not connected to anything. You're just like, I don't even know what I'm holding on to anymore. I don't even know if I can still hold on. Right. And then you got the wild monkeys coming at you, which is like your brain and all of your thoughts. And it's like legit. I could see where people get disheartened and like want to pull away and want to back out. And, it's like the container is here, the space is held. But in order to get to that part of us that trust, it takes a lot of cracking through. And I do find that depending on the experience, sometimes it's the age and how long they've held on to those experiences. It's seriously like having a chisel And we're just breaking down, breaking down, breaking down walls. And that resistance comes up, and we spend a lot of time in the resistance. And that's where the time goes.
Yeah. And resistance for me looks like confusion, anger, just like, I got to tell you, there's like 87 billion coaches and offers and webinars, and you can be entertained 24/7 and explore all these different things. And you're right, it always just comes back to me. It's going to always be me. And there's no escaping that. I mean, it's kind of like the good news and the bad news. The good
Yeah,
news is it's within me. I don't have to go anywhere. I don't have to pay anybody because it's inside me.
I think the difference is we're taught to learn through intellect. We're taught to learn through mind, through the mind.
Mhm.
And in this container, we're actually, it's almost like we go beyond the mind and we work with the inner essence. But if that inner essence hasn't been matured, we don't really know ourselves on that deeper level. It feels very much like ripping the baby away. You know, it's like, it's so heart wrenching. It's like you're losing an identity, the child identity, the temper tantrums that come up, the tangents that we do, and that's all is just like holding on for dear life, trying not to let go of it because it's all we know. And then we're like, what's going to happen when I'm just hanging out on the bridge? Then what? That's the scary part, because the then what is then you got your own back.
Yeah, which is like when you're developing that as a new skill, how do you do that? You know, where does it come from?
Yeah. It's the act of learning to go inside to that inner knowing to get the answer of what to do next and where to go next. The problem is when we have a trauma brain or traumatic experiences that are in the body, then we see the bridge, that swinging bridge, as unsafe. And the nervous system, the body's nervous systems goes into fight, flight, freeze, and freak. And so we're in freak mode, and we can't get beyond the freak to use the frontal cortex to make rational decisions. And so it takes time to keep coming back to presence. Let your body know that you are safe. Bring your body and mind on board together. And it's like a constantly reminding. And what happens with the humans is they start to judge and compare themselves. It's taking too long. I'm not getting it. And then start looking at everyone else who is. And another thing the brain will do is it goes to look at who else is not. And it wants to say, oh, yeah, see, they're not getting it either. They're not getting it either. They're not getting it either. And then we want to beat ourselves up because we're at the lower end of where we want to be. And it's all because of what we were looking for. We were looking for the evidence. We were looking for the Me Too movement. We're looking for the Me Too, right? Didn't work, like me too, me too, me too. This sucks for me too, because we're always looking for company. But you could just as easily direct your brain to look at the where you want to be and see evidence there and say, me too, me too, me too, me too. It boils down to your perception, your attitude, your experience, and your ability to take yourself out of the swamp and come up to the top, like
And I
bubble up
and
from
I
the
think
bottom.
it has to do with worthiness. But I think, you saw, I did a one woman show, and I have this really hilarious scene about how I did the 40-day prosperity plan. So I meditated for an hour a day. I wrote, I am one with the opulent abundance of the universe. I mean, I was really, really, really disciplined every day, an hour. And as I was doing it, my car got stolen. I got fired from my job. It's funny in a play, but it was hard in real life. So I realized that I didn't feel worthy. Like saying an affirmation wasn't fixing that worthiness. And so here it is, what, 30 years later, and I'm like, I feel like I have been working on. I've definitely been working on myself, but my work with you has been more personal and laser focused on my unconscious hidden beliefs to bring them up and to deal with them. And it has been at times like super joyful and happy, and I'm filled with so much faith, and I listen to Abraham Hicks and I'm like, yeah, it all makes sense. And then other times I'm like, it's bitter pill to swallow. to give up the victim cape and to go, it's all 100% me. It's not fun to admit. I mean, it's like, but it is all 100%. All of it, we're all responsible. But when, at the very beginning, when other coaches would say, it's just a thought, LOL, like it was so frustrating because I didn't understand it. And I still don't totally understand it. I mean, I believe it, that our thoughts create our feelings and that creates our reality. I get that intellectually. But to really understand it every day with every thought, because my thoughts will go and then they'll create these emotions and then I'm like lost again. So, I know my human design, I'm not supposed to be consistent, which is good news because I've never been.
Yeah. And so it's kind of like, how can you see Jumanji's bridge as flexibility and flow rather than fear and danger? So how can you see the not knowing and just being in the experience as it comes, especially as a 6-2, because we learn through experience. You can't learn through someone else's experience. You have to learn through your own experience. And so it's like really making that switch of this is scary and dangerous and I could die any moment, to the person who's on the roller coaster with their hands up. Like, oh my God, it's so fun not to be in control and just to be flowing here. So you can see the difference is coming from the nervous system.
Right. And to believe, like, not only are you worthy, but you're loved. I love to say I'm loved, guided, and protected. I really am. And I guess it's just, I don't know, old trauma brain patterns or whatever that take me off. But when I know I'm loved, guided, and protected, then I don't worry about falling off the bridge. I don't. I'm fine. It's building on that and staying in that and becoming a new person. You know, I've been on earth for a long time as this other person who wasn't the real me anyway, but still that's the habit.
Yeah. What do you see as the difference between like all of this, I'll say the law of attraction work, the metaphysics and the years of experience in that spiritual realm compared to this practical, tangible experience? I think it's so different, because it's not coming from something someone else is telling us. It's actually coming from something that we integrate and embody. It's like
Exactly.
it's the same work.
Yeah, yeah. No, I love all of it. I love all of the Jesus, Course in Miracles, Law of Attraction, Abraham, like Byron Katie, Eckhart Tolle. I love all of that stuff, makes me feel good. But the difference between reading all of that and even practicing that and having a life coach who's in my brain, it's more personal. I'm responsible for, like, reading all those things. Those are just general things. Like even worshiping God in church all those years felt good, but it wasn't helping me with my shit in my brain. So that's what having a coach, like being made aware of what I believe and how my beliefs were sabotaging it's more personal. It's more personal and more effective because I'm not just thinking all these lovely concepts. I'm dealing with what's inside my brain.
I'm releasing all these lovely concepts that are not me in order to embody or embrace the concepts that I want to be.
Yeah, learning how to live those concepts rather than just put them on a bumper sticker on your car or a poster on your wall.
Right. Or on your Facebook wall with a meme.
Whoa, all those beautiful memes that I love to make and I will keep making. But behind the scenes, it's not always so pretty.
Yeah. So what would you say was, like, we talked about where you were and what you thought when you came in and how you had interpreted like it was going to fix all of your problems. And now you're realizing like, actually, I'm the one who has to serve my own damn plate and clean it and put it away. And like, it's actually, because I do see it as a maturity, an emotional maturity, that when we have an old story or pattern, that's where the temper tantrum comes from. We don't want to let go of that old story. We don't want to embrace something new because this chaos is so comfortable. It's entertaining.
Mm. Yeah, it's still comfortable until it's really
Uncomfortable.
uncomfortable.
Exactly. Exactly. And the pain of that discomfort has to exceed the discomfort of moving forward.
Yeah, it's like um because of what happened to me as a kid, I took on that victim thing, and then I became codependent and a people pleaser. So shifting to it's all up to me 100%, pleasing myself, being true to myself without worrying about what other people are going to think. That was a huge is a huge shift for me. So it's empowering and fun and exciting, but it is like a death. It's the death of this old person I was my whole life.
How does that feel?
Exciting and terrifying and wonderful and awful at the same time. It's like putting on new shoes that are gorgeous, but they're too tight. Like you got to break them in. Like it's just not. And I am totally in between who I used to be and who I'm becoming. I'm in the middle. I'm maybe more a little towards who I'm becoming. But it's like a cold shower realizing, whoa, like I've been wrong all my life about a lot of things. It doesn't feel good because I like to think of myself as a smart person.
Yeah. And the ego wants to hold on to that identity, that knowing that, hey, it took me 30 years to accumulate this information. I'm not letting go of that. Like, no, this is it. This is the truth. This is what I know. Right. It's kind of like the perception of heaven and hell. It's the perception of relationship with Christ. It's the perception of, just kind of all of that. It's that, and then suddenly when you do cut those cords and release, it's like, oh my God, the relationship is so much richer. The relationship is so much purer.
Mm-hmm.
It's not coated, sugar coated with illusion, or it's not an ideal anymore. It actually becomes something that's embodied is the word that I keep using. The relationship becomes real.
Yeah. It's like waking up. Like it's not fun to wake up, especially when you're really tired. You want to stay under the covers. You just want to stay. I love dreams and fantasies. Leave me alone. I'm in my fantasy. But having a life coach is like waking up sometimes like a bucket of ice on your head. And you're like, oh, I don't want to wake up. It doesn't feel good. But then once you're awake, you're real, Like it's I'm real. I don't have to dream and fantasize because I really am this person. But it's not been easy for me. At times it's been easy, but
Do you think
overall,
because you came in after so many years of studying and you had like really attached to these ideas, and it was the kind of investigating them that created a new kind of like, we kind of get into some of this metaphysical stuff to have something tangible to hold on to that's different from what we knew or what we were, right? And then we kind of have those as our new wubby. And then there's actually, well, we're going to get curious and we're going to ask if that's true, right? We're going to investigate, we're going to unpack, we're going to unravel this, so that we can really find out to the core who we are. And that's that messy. That's the part where when I don't know who I am, I do not feel safe. I do not feel comfortable. I don't even know what I think anymore.
I don't feel like working with you as a coach or being in this group went against anything that I was taught. I've always been really enthusiastic and dramatic and passionate. So when I was at the Bible college, I was like married to Jesus. I was an evangelist, never wanted to get married. And then it just stopped. I just didn't, I grew out of that. I grew out of that, never out of loving Jesus, but out of that fundamental churchy thing. It didn't work for me anymore. And then I get into the Course in Miracles, and I was going to Marianne's lectures twice a week, and I was like, Course in Miracles. And then I kind of, it doesn't, and then now and so all those spiritual things I did worked for me. And then I always wanted more. So I think the going within your own mind and beliefs, you never exhaust that because it's within me. Like I kept, yeah, I did get a lot of growth and healing from all the modalities I did, but I'm not one of those people that did one thing and stayed with it her whole life. I mean, I get bored and I needed more. So you're never going to get bored going within your own self. So facing my own shit, that's more than just reading the Bible or studying a book. It's looking at Susie Porter's stuff and taking responsibility for all my thoughts. So,
And the entertainment. I mean, we are entertained just by watching our own bullshit. It's when
I
we
wish
get
mine was
attached
more
to it.
entertaining.
I'm saying whenever we get attached to it and we think it's real and true, that's when we get into trouble.
Yeah, I'm still learning not to do that.
Yeah. So what would you say is different about this container, Self-Telling Masters, integrative coaching? What is different about this than the other things that you've experienced prior to, or other, you've checked out everything. So how would, like, what keeps you here? Because this sucks. You don't like it. I mean, it sucks ass bad, right? And it's a constant fight for your brain, and you're always like trying to crawl out of this hole, and then you get there for a little while and then you fall back in and you're like, I don't think this is working. I don't know about this. I don't like it. It doesn't feel good, but you keep showing up. And I'm curious, what part of you, what do you see? What potential do you see that you do have some belief that's willing to keep showing up and keep trying?
Because I keep showing up for me, because I'm never going to escape me. I could spend 50,000 more dollars on all these other people, but I'm always going to be me. And integrative coaching, self-healing masters, your work, the punchline approach, it's always me. It's always going within me. And that's the work. That's always the work for everybody. And if it's not, then you're just in a cult, you're hypnotized or whatever, until you get true with yourself. And that's what I ultimately was always looking for. And I can bring Jesus or Abraham Hicks or anything into it, and anybody can bring any of their beliefs into it, but it's what works for me. Like, what really works. My life is so much different now than when I met you. My relationship, my relationship with my kids, how I feel in the world is just so different. Even though I'm struggling, I've made tons of progress. I'm not really seeing that right now, because right now I'm not feeling very good, but I know that I've made tons of progress. My children see it. They notice it.
What have they said?
They said, "Mommy, you're so much calmer now. You're doing so good. We see, you know, they tell me everything." I mean, what teenagers tell their parents everything? Because I don't judge. I'm able to be present. It helped me so much. Every parent of a teenager should have a life coach.
So what's going on in your head when you're in the midst of the muck and yet you see the potential and you're still reaching for the potential? What keeps you in the game? What's the thought or the belief that keeps you in the game? I'd say, what's the belief, since this is the Better Believing Better series?
The belief is there's no escape. This is where you are. You are invested in every way you can be invested. There's nowhere else to go. And this discomfort, I mean, I've felt humiliated and angry, and that's within me. Before I ever met you, I brought it with me.
Exactly.
And I'm not going to escape it ever. And if I don't deal with it here, now, in this container, well, where am I going to deal with it? With people who don't know me? Like, this is where I am. And y'all got to put up with me. And I have to put up with, like, all my thoughts and ideas and judgments. Yeah, I've thought, why am I in a group with, when I first met you and you said you were from Louisiana, oh, my heart sank. I was like, oh, why? I was like, how am I going to relate, And yet it was, I don't know, something about your soul just like overrode all my fears, and is deeper than it's I mean, I ultimately, I feel a oneness with all humanity, and I don't want to be judgmental. I don't want to be angry. I don't want to be preachy and in a bubble or whatever, but really working that out. I guess it's a safe place to work that out. And
I'm
having
wondering if you're seeing, because this is something that I noticed, is I didn't want to buy into someone else's belief again. I wanted to be in a place that was going to help me unpack and find my own. That's why I created this container, because I wasn't finding this for myself. Someone who is like, I have to do the work of staying neutral so I can stay neutral for myself. I'll never not be doing this work. I mean, unless I'm on my deathbed and I can't. I don't care. Like, it's Christmas Eve today. That didn't even cross my mind that it would be tomorrow morning, Christmas Day. I'm going to be showing it for meditation for my group. And that is for me. It's not because I'm trying to save the world. It's not because I'm a people pleaser. It's not because I'm afraid someone gets left out, or it's not at all for any of that. It is for me. And so if we're going to pick up a picket sign, or we're going to have a cause or a fight, do it because it makes us feel good. Don't do it because we need to save someone else, or because we have a responsibility to the world in some kind of morbid way. It feels good to me to show up. and show people neutrality when they've been spinning in negativity and victimhood and martyr and sainthood. And because that's where I was, right? It was a constantly trying to please outside in order for me to feel a certain way inside, rather than just attaining the feeling inside.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And all my anger and fear for whatever it is, whatever issue it is, it's me. It was within me before I met any of you. So that's what I'm kind of, I don't want to use the word stuck, but that's what I'm dealing with now. Taking responsibility for all of it, feeling the shame and the regret when I goof up, but having a place to face it and to, there's, like I said, there's just no escape from yourself, from me, from myself. So that's why I stay here, because I want to figure it out.
Yeah. I think the other thing to mention also is this once and done idea. Like, oh, I'm going to pay this coach, or I'm going to get in this program, or I'm going to do this thing, and then I'm going to be fixed forever, right? Or I'm going to, like, let's talk
Well,
about
some
that.
people have. Paul got struck by lightning, boom. Wayne Dyer went to his dad's grave, boom. Byron Katie, cockroach climbed over her toe, boom. There are people that have had that. Eckhart Tolle wanted to kill himself, woke up the next day, boom. And yeah,
I
maybe
promise you, they have to continue the journey every day. There's the awakening, right? And then there's the decision to stay.
right, but it's like Buddha sat under the tree, and then, but like, yeah, I've always wanted that. I've read about all these masters, and I'm like, I want that. I want to wake up and be like, oof,
How do you
Susy.
think they'll feel once they attain that? How do you think they feel? Like Eckhart Tolle and Byron Katie.
Awesome. I've had tastes of it. It feels amazing. I want to feel that all the time.
And that is possible within us if we use the tools to get ourselves there, right? It doesn't matter what that's the hardest part, I think, to really get the brain to settle into, is that it is a practice. It's a daily practice. Byron Katie has to practice being who she is every day. Martha Beck has to practice being who she is every day. As long as we are a human, we have a brain, we're in this physical body, we have to practice what we want to be every single day. But I think there is an assumption or a hope that something's going to make that turn, like that moment, that cockroach moment, and that it's easy breezy from there on out. And I think that is where it's interesting to talk about people who are actually in the work. Like even myself, that has attained a certain financial success and a certain business success. And if, it's like raising 5 kids and having, like 32 years of marriage, or like all of this stuff, but it's not like it just happened. I mean, it was just constant practice and practice and practice, and becoming the next version and the newer version, and then practicing being her until the next version came along, and then practicing being her until the next version came along. And there's sometimes where I look back and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe that was 2 years ago. And then other times I look back and it's like, I can't believe that was 20 years ago. It's like time I've lost. I do not even have one working clock in my house. We have our phones that, I'll check out and look, but we don't even live that way anymore. It's so weird.
Well, as you were talking, I got this image in my head of, walking the new walk. But I have this image that I'm stuck, my feet are in cement. And doing the work is like pouring cement, dissolving, like hot water, whatever dissolves cement. And so it's slowly getting like clay, and then I can walk. But I feel like I'm not stuck in cement anymore, but I'm stuck in some kind of other goo. So the work is like slowly, I look forward to the day when there's nothing on my feet, where I'm just walking. But I feel like for me, I'm still undoing decades of conditioning, programming, habit, whatever. So I do get moments where I'm really zippity happy all the time, like days, weeks at a time. And then whatever that is, that old cement, I'm still stuck in it a little. But I do feel hope that it's almost all gone.
Yeah, I had a few moments like that. One of them specifically, I was in a bird cage. Like I just had this visual of this aqua metal bird cage, and I'm perched up on that little stick thing. The door is open, just like
Yeah.
your feet are free.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then
There
I
really
didn't
is.
know where to go. I didn't know how to get out. I felt naked, vulnerable, afraid. Like what's outside of the prison doors? like, what is life going to look like when I'm responsible for it? When I get to make my own decisions, when I don't get to look at someone else and say, what do you want? Or how can I please you? Or how can I do for you? That was, I stayed locked in that particular situation probably the longest, that stepping into the liberation, like releasing the shackles is one thing. That's a whole set of work. But then once the shackles have been released and you're moving on, I'm thinking of someone who gets out of rehab, or someone who gets out of prison, or someone who gets out of a marriage like this, really repressed marriage for 20, 30, 40 years, like that. You kind of don't know what to do because you don't know who you are, because you haven't practiced being her. So there's the point where you haven't identified her yet. And then there's the part where you haven't accepted her yet, that you're not being her yet. So all of that is a practice. It just so happens that this day and space where we're doing this recording is where this is where you are. And I didn't want to hide that. And I didn't want to pretend like that wasn't so, because I don't think that's authentic. I don't think that's transparent. I don't think it's honest.
Yeah. And I feel like, as you're talking about the shackles, as I'm struggling to get them off, I'm bleeding and it hurts and it's cutting and it doesn't feel good, but I'm struggling. And so, sometimes I feel like you or the work is asking me to just, like, if I just surrendered, they would just disappear. But I'm always trying to fight and get them off, and I make them tighter, like that Chinese finger trap, whatever that thing is. It's like, it's really hard to feel like you're not getting it. It's very like surrender to not knowing what. That's
Yeah,
scary.
because it feels like being in the bottom of the class. It feels like not getting picked on the team. It feels like not getting to go to the event, right? It like, it's a terrible feeling to be in a container where you're judging yourself.
Yes, it sucks. Yeah.
And we don't see it's our own shit. It's our own judgment and comparison. It's so aggravating. Been there lots of times. And I did exactly what you just said. I was like, oh, if this shit's going to follow me everywhere, then this is the place that I want to do it in. And this is the place I'm going to stay. I felt that way about my marriage. It's like, okay, hold on. Relationships are tricky. It's just mirroring, it's like, what's in this for me right now? How can I come home to myself? How can I empower myself? How can I strengthen myself so that I can be strong and independent? And then turns out that releasing those shackles of what I wanted someone else to be in order for me to be happy, when I was able to release that, I actually just settled into this calm ease. And then he was able to come closer because I wasn't fighting and pushing and resisting what was.
Yeah, there's so much information out there about trauma and the trauma brain. And the first step of your process is called presence. And I swear to God, I'm still working on that P. I want to be on the C, which, for you guys that don't know, it's create, which is the fun part. Can I tell you, the U, not so fun, the N, but the C, where you get to create your new life, that's the fun part. That's what I signed up for.
Yeah. Yeah. You wanted the H, you wanted the C and the H. Like, this is what I want to
I
create.
don't even know what the H is.
You're like, this is what I want to create. Tell me how. So you were on the C and the H.
E is ease and flow, isn't it? Something like that.
Well, that's the result.
Yeah, I want to get to that.
The result is living your life's legacy as yourself, as an integrated
thank you very much.
levels in ease and flow.
I'm this age. I should be able to skip to the end of the book. Okay. I need extra credit for everything I've been through. But
there's the problem. There's the problem belief. I should have already attained it.
Yeah. Because instead, everything I've been through keeps me stuck in chapter 1. Chapter 1, man, presence. It's just like, I like. It is funny because the punchline approach is a book, but it doesn't really work until you like experience it and do it. So just being present is like, right now, even just saying that makes me feel good, because I've spent most of my life in my mind spinning around. And when you have the belief you're a victim, you're spinning in thoughts that make you feel like shit. So just to be in presence and to say, okay, I see my mind is doing that thing. I don't have to, like, I don't have to hop on that train of thought. I don't have to get on that train. It's just a thought. Like, just that
Yeah.
can change
And
your whole life.
And I also want to really bring to like the focus and attention, because I love using human design and like astrology and these systems to really better understand ourselves. We don't use it like as dogma. It doesn't become the next religion, but we do use it for self-inquiry. And when I look at your chart and I'm looking like you're a 6-2, we just go through hell and then we try to figure out how to never do that again. And then we're off the roof being an example, right? And that's just kind of that process, how it works. But some of us get caught in this was hell, and we take it into that next phase, and then we take it into the next phase. And that pinging that happens, that cracking open, is an opportunity to step into a role model, but we're still in the victim of this happened to me. And so it's real, it's that bridge to there. But another thing to note is you're also a triple split definition. And so when you're like, I wanted someone to answer me and to listen to me and be with me 24/7, it's because when you're around me or with me, you're actually open emotionally, and I'm like defined. And so it's like there is a feeding off of, but it can be another codependency relationship. It could be another addiction. It could be like, I have to stay really clean and like stay away from that, because I realize that people can be feeding off of that. And I've done that in the past. And that, there, it is exhausting when you're constantly giving everything everyone needs. And then they never learn it for themselves. So it's like feeding them instead of teaching them how to fish.
Yeah, or
So
you
that's a
being the
hard part of the
example. Yeah,
process.
you being the example of it rather than doing it for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody can do it for me.
No, I can't believe you, like believe in you enough for you to believe in yourself. I can hold a space and I can show it and I can tell you I see potential, but it's ultimately up to you if you can see it or not. And I can tell if you are by your behavior. So that, at the same time, it's like that triple split. It's like you kind of do need someone else, like in order for you to feel whole. Like it's easier for you and I having this conversation right now than you to be by yourself doing it, correct? And so it's like recognizing that, but doing it in a healthy way. Not you owe me, I need you, I have to have you. But boy, it's really nice whenever we are connected and it seems so much clearer for me and I'm so much more neutral. This feels really nice and safe. And then stay in that imprint long enough to where you can practice being in it and then take it with you alone. Like it's something I've talked to other triple splits about too. And even those like the projectors and those who are really open, I'm super grounded solid, kind of like that redwood oak tree. Like it's like I am rooted in this earth. I am rooted in the heavens. It's my design. It's who I am. I own that place. I love it. It's comfortable for me. And I'm also aware that I am a people pleaser and I am a problem solver and I do want to save the world in some sort of way, right? There is that aspect, as all of us who are humans, we want to know that we have contributed and left the world a better place.
Mhm.
But it's my responsibility to note that and not allow it, because I am disempowering my client when I do it. But when you're in scarcity or you're feeling unsafe, then you take it personally and don't see that it's kind of like disciplining the children. I'm actually doing it for your best interest. And that's really hard for the mind to understand.
Yes. Well, the mind is one thing, and then the heart, that inner child, that insecure, neurotic part. I don't know if that's the mind or
You
that's
have to
the,
reparent yourself. You have to reparent that stuff.
yeah,
We have to do
that's,
that. Mine was neglect. And so I had to learn how to be my own parent. I had to learn to be my own safeguard or, whatever it was at an early age. So of course I took that with me into my marriage and thought the same thing. I can't depend on you. I can't trust you. I got to do it all myself. And then I didn't understand why he wasn't there for me, because I wasn't letting him play his role to protect, to provide, to please. I wasn't able to receive it, because I was so sure that my story was true. I was so sure that this was reality, that I'm not good enough. I'm unworthy. I'm neglected. I'm rejected. I'm whatever the story was, right? That we take with us, we take into our relationships and then we play it out. And then we're like, I don't belong. I don't fit in. It doesn't feel good being here. I'm not connected, but it's all us.
mhm. Well, as you're talking, it's making me realize it's like helping people become conscious. Like I could read all the books and go to therapy and don't, but if it's unconscious, like as you're talking, I'm like, this is all unconscious that I would have these angry, hurt feelings. I don't know why. It's because of that hidden belief inside.
Mhm.
That to me, there's tons of great stuff about life coaching, a ton of great stuff. But to me, the most exciting, amazing, magical, mystical, life changing, the best part about life coaching is when you realize your unconscious belief and you can look at it and you can recognize it and then you can become free of it. You're not in denial anymore.
Yeah, but you can't see it yourself. So
No,
there's
you can't.
that. We can't see it. We're just like sitting there beating our head against a brick wall, or the forehead's, frozen in the freezer, and we're like flapping our wings, and our feet are like, actually you can move your feet, but we think we're stuck and we're trying to flap, and all we have to do is back up. That's all we have to do is back up. Just presence. We just have to get present. Surrender, open, stay a few moments. Do that over and over and over, and then it becomes the nature of who you are. I am the person who stops and becomes aware, becomes present, right? I'm open to possibilities. It's complete opposite of the traumatic brain. And the
Yeah,
way
that
and
that
it's actually, the traumatic brain has trained the nervous system to respond the way it does. It's not personal. And that's why I think it gets kind of tough in the container. I understand that and I hold that space. I don't take it personal whenever there's a child having a temper tantrum in the group. I'm like, it's just what their brain is doing. It's just how their body's used to responding. It's what they've always done. It's what they've practiced the most, the longest.
Mhm.
It's not that my process doesn't work. It's not that my program doesn't work. It's not that this coaching doesn't work. It's not that this container doesn't work. It's that they're not able to receive. And I'm willing to let them take as much time as they need, which is why we did the lifetime container for those who wanted to do the foundation. I was like, let's just do it this way, because we who have been in this program for a while now realize it's a lifetime of work. It's not a once and done.
Yeah, like you're saying to stop, which is to pause. But when you're afraid that there's a tiger is going to bite your head off, if you pause, you're going to die.
Right.
So you have to feel safe to pause and then respond from that place of security and centeredness and groundedness. But if you're always scared, you don't ever pause. You always react. And that's how my brain was and still is in a lot of ways. So to stop and to pause, are you kidding me? That's really scary.
Yeah. I'm wondering if what keeps you going is because you have a little bit of evidence that it's worked in some areas at some
Yeah,
point.
I have a lot of evidence. I don't have all the evidence that I want, but I have a lot of evidence.
Because at
Yeah.
one point you were like, you know what? I'm willing to be wrong. I'd rather be happy than be right. Like you had a
Absolutely. I
huge
want to be
realization.
wrong. I want to be wrong. I want to be happy and go, oh gosh, I'm glad I was wrong about that because that belief sucked.
Yeah.
This is better. This, then, yeah, I don't
It's
care.
probably that tangible evidence that keeps you in and keeps you going when it gets really tough. You're like, okay, there's got to be something here. There's got like, I'm trusting my intuition. I'm trusting that there's something else for me to see here. There has to be some sort of belief that's keeping you going, right? Some
Well,
sort
yeah,
of,
and I felt like this before and I got through it. So I'm feeling that again. I hate it. It's embarrassing, whatever, but I've been there before and I got out of it before and I learned from it. And now I have more compassion, more awareness, more understanding.
do you think it's some shame about the immature self?
Yeah, probably. Doesn't
Like
feel
the
good.
temper tantrum, acting like a toddler, that having a little hissy fit, like those sorts of things. Like that's what it was for me. I remember the year I took the word reactive, non-reactive and reactive. It was probably the worst year of my life because I
I
was
don't do
able
that.
to.
I saw that you posted that. I don't do that anymore. One year I picked patience. No, I don't
I
ever
did
ask
that too.
for
I
patience.
did that too.
Oh,
But
you'll have the worst time.
I was able to see where I was reactive, and like it was in my awareness of being reactive. I was like, oh my God, I taught on that for like 2 years because it was so impactful, but horrible, felt horrible, but it was a part of my awakening process.
Yeah, no, I like to be the expert. I like to be successful. I like to be great at what I do. I don't like to be a beginner, especially at my age. I
Yeah,
want
that's
to
the other
be.
thing. Like with human design, when they say it takes 7 years to decondition, we're like, I ain't got 7 years. No. I've been doing this for 30 years, but we really haven't been doing it for 30 years. We've been doing the intellectual stuff.
I want to be the favorite employee of the month every month, the star. I don't like being sitting in the back with the dunce
None of
cap
us
on.
do. Yeah, we don't like it at all. All right, our time is up. We actually went over, so I want to thank you for coming on. And I'm going to. Is there anything I didn't ask you that you would like to share about self-healing masters, about integrative coaching, something that has come to your awareness that you think would be important for others to know?
Um, Gosh, I don't know. Don't be afraid, and
Or do be afraid. Allow
or don't
yourself
be
to be
afraid, or know that no matter what you do, it's always going to come back to you.
afraid.
Always. Pick a religion or a book. I've probably studied it, and you're always going to come back to you. It's like those red sparkly shoes are on your feet, and you have to click your shoes and go back to your Kansas. No matter how many people out there sell you all these sparkly answers, it's always going to be you. Always going to be you, which is good news, because when you get to the great part of you, there's joy and happiness and everything you want.
What's the great news is then you actually get to be in control. The illusion is that you're in control of other people in order to make you happy. That'll
Yeah.
never work. But once you realize that actually the only thing I can control is me, and it's like, whoa, at least I can control something.
And then you're such an attractive person because you're not in everyone else's business. Like, being codependent is annoying. I don't even want it. It's like, yeah.
It's just a habit. It's just a habit you haven't broken yet. Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on. I'm going to end this here and I'll put your contact information below if anyone wants to contact you, chat about this, or just kind of talk about your experience or what you do. And that is it. This is the end, guys. Thank you for sticking with us.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.